Yes, 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 yes. Ba 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 ba. Yes, 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 yes. Hip in the lip. The Islanders are in the playoffs. Yes, 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 yes. Hip in the lip. Welcome from the expected unknown parts of metropolitan New York City.
That right.
I am the Hip, and this is Lip.
Hello, hipsters. Hello. We have clinched. Yes, it's true. Hello. Good evening, Hip Lip Nation, all you hipsters out there.
And it was an anti-limp clinch. This was a convincingly exciting clinch for your New York Islanders. And welcome to this New York Islanders podcast. This is kind of a special Thursday night episode. We have kind of been in the routine of doing Sunday/Monday night episodes, but we are in crunch time. There are only 2 games left in the regular season for the New York Islanders in the 2015-16 season, and we just had a thrilling, exciting win over the New York Rangers.
Well, not
And
really.
the Islanders are trending in an exciting direction. I can't believe this is coming out of my voice, considering what we discussed 4 days ago. And here we are. And so, there's only 2 games left, and we gotta just break it down. And there's a lot of scenarios here. I think a lot of debate, in fact, that will come from tonight. So,
But yeah, fasten your seatbelts. This episode may end up being over by the time we're all said and done, maybe tomorrow morning. So, or if you're listening, if you're downloading or streaming
right.
it, if you're not listening to it live, then if you have a very long commute, well, you still probably won't be able to finish it.
It's my role to avoid that outcome, and so it appears you're putting me and or us to the test. So
well, you are the maestro, so maestro, you gotta keep that.
I gotta cut out
well, what is it? I forgot everything from band already. Time signature, whatever. 4/4 time signature.
All right. Well, we'll do a little 6/8 to get that going.
Accelerated.
Yeah. So look, quick standings update here. So a change from 4 days ago, where now the New York Islanders have slotted back into 3rd place in the Metropolitan Division. They are tied with the Rangers, 99 points apiece. The Rangers are 4th only because the Islanders have a game in hand on the Rangers. The Rangers actually would have the tiebreaker as of today because the Rangers have more rows. Regulation and overtime wins by 2.
Rows. Yep.
Right. Now, I don't know what happens if they actually have the same number of rows, because in this case, it's head-to-head.
And then the Islanders would obviously win that.
Right, so it is still possible because the Rangers have 2 rows above the Islanders right now. If the Rangers lose, the Islanders win in regulation or overtime the remaining 2 games, then they tie with rows. And that's significant because it all comes down to who are these teams going to match up with in the first round of the playoffs. Now they've both clinched, and we're past the at least for me the worry that they're going to collapse and not actually make the playoffs. That mindset already feels like a distant memory. That was one that we talked about on Sunday. But now it's, how are these teams going to match up? And maybe we should just put a pause on that. Let's do a recap of the last 3 games first. Then we'll go into the going forward picture. I think that's more appropriate. So,
right.
And I think it's worth getting into these last few games because, man, we talked about how tough of a stretch this was going to be, and the Islanders are now 6-1 in their last 7 games. I mean, this is just in the win-loss column wise, at least, a great turnaround. Look, the one was a huge blemish, a 5-0 shutout blowout loss at home to the feared Pittsburgh Penguins. But you know what? You're going to have those games every now and again. But, so the last 3, though, they defeated Tampa Bay decisively. Then they came back against Washington in regulation in the third period, got the game win in overtime, and now they just took care of business against the Rangers. So, what's your feeling coming out from the stretch?
Well, a very different tone this episode will have comparatively to the last episode, where I'm sure you remember I was not too pleased with the team and with the coach and with most of the players. And like you said, that one in this past stretch was a big one because, and we'll get into, of course, previewing and just looking ahead. But the Islanders cannot. Now, I'll just throw this out there: the Islanders cannot have home ice advantage with Pittsburgh winning this evening. Pittsburgh had to lose in regulation in order for that to, at least for them to still have a chance for home ice. But now that is done. Now the best they can do is be the number 3 seed in the division in which they would play Pittsburgh in the first round, not have home ice. So that's something that Islander fans, I guess, are very fearful of, and that's why there's been lots, like you said, lots of debate as to whether or not the Islanders should have been trying to win this game or maybe hand it to the Rangers so they can have that spot, take on Pittsburgh, and then the Islanders get the cushy 7th spot in the conference and take on, I guess, the not as fearful Florida Panthers. But yeah, very different tone for this episode, at least for me. The last one felt more like a dark DC comic movie type tone, whereas today it's a lighter Marvel comic movie tone. So we are moving into at least to a more jovial, happy, exuberant tone for this episode from the last one. But yeah, look, I mean, it started off on Monday when Jack Capuano called out his players, and I want your thoughts, on his tactics, because this was very. I mean, you think about what I was yelling about on Sunday about how Jack just had this terrible attitude. This again, this you don't have to rehash the whole thing, but just a mentality that what was us? We have injuries. What do you want us to do? We're happy to be here. If we make the playoffs, it's a success. And I don't have any more expectations for this season. And then all of a sudden, he decides to go out on Monday and call out 3 specific players in public. First, he calls out Brock Nelson, Josh Bailey, and Ryan Strome. And I'll read the quote here. He says, "We need Strome to be better, Brock to be better, Bailey to be better. We need guys to be better if we're going to have any chance at all. They see it black and white. The video doesn't lie. It doesn't come down to X's and O's. It doesn't come down to systems. It comes down to how hard you compete." And then goes on to say we've struggled with a few guys for sure. Compete level, work ethic, it has to be better. There's no doubt that those guys have to figure out at some point. And the guys mentioned need to pick their shit up and start playing. And and I paraphrase a little bit there, but the team responded. And one of the things I was thinking about, obviously he called out 3 specific players, but if the whole entire locker room hears this, they're probably saying, you know what, this is not a challenge to those 3. This is a challenge to us collectively as a whole. We know that we were horrific on Saturday. We know that we have to collectively as a group play better, improve our compete level, our overall effort, and go back to to what allowed us some success in the previous season and at certain times this season, and that's exactly what they did on Monday against Tampa. But I want your thoughts though on Jack's tactic. Out of character.
I'm confused because last show we talked about Jack's comments following the loss to Pittsburgh.
All right.
And the comments that you just referenced were also made between the Penguin and Lightning game from Saturday to Monday, yes?
Exactly. So all of a sudden, it's like he had a night's sleep and then woke up and said, "Oh, and maybe he listened to us. Maybe he heard our podcast and said, you know what, they're right."
I should have thought of that. Yeah.
Or maybe someone reported. Maybe he has people that listen to every Islanders podcast and say, "Hey, Jack, the hip and the lip there were not very complimentary of your post game."
Between the same 2 games, he said, I'm repeating what we said last time. He said, it's not like we have a lot of guys in the bullpen that we could put in there. He said that the Pens were healthy and we're not. I mean, God, it just doesn't make sense. Look, I'm not saying that. I mean,
but I was thrilled. I heard this and I said,
"Right,
awesome.
You'll take it. Right,
yes,
you'll take it." Yes, I'm not saying that we don't want him to say that, but I just am trying to understand, like,
Well,
the
I mean,
dynamics of the clubhouse when he says one thing. Maybe he watched the film. I don't know, like, but one game is not going to make him call out Nelson, Bailey, and Strom. It's a pattern of crappy play, not just one game.
oh no, absolutely, and but we have been talking
Something
about
happened.
yeah. Well, I
Something
mean,
happened that,
maybe.
I mean, somebody said something to him like, what the hell are you saying? Making excuses. You got to motivate this team. Or he just slept on it and woke up the next day. But I mean, it's like, do you want a coach that's just so like inconsistent with their attitude? I mean, it's just.
Well, you know what? But Jack has always been known as a player's coach. He's not someone that, you never hear him call out players in public. Look, when the team doesn't play well, you'll hear him criticize the team, battle level, sticks and walls and whatever, he uses his Jackisms. So it's not that he never criticized the team, but it's so out of character for him to call out players in public. I mean, look, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. In any sport, different coaches and managers have their own tactics and their methodology as to how they approach the psyche of their team. Al Arbor, one of the great coaches in the history of the sport. The former Islanders coach. I mean, he was. One of the things that made him such a great coach, at least, what's been written and said about him, is that he knew when to push players' buttons. If a player needed a kick in the ass, that's what he did. If he needed a softer touch and, kind of more positive reinforcement, then he had that approach.
A little caressing.
A little soft touch. Yes.
the Arbor caress, yes.
The Arbor caress. And that's what made him a great coach, is because he knew he knew his team, he knew his players, and he knew how to get the most out of them. And maybe Jack said, what, enough with the kid gloves. It's time to take off the gloves, and it's time to rattle the cages of these guys and, emphasize that their play is unacceptable and they have to pick it up and that they're going to be counted upon because there's nobody in the bullpen. So I guess that means Bailey's not getting benched, although they have a zillion injuries now, so Bailey was not getting benched anyway.
Well, I mean, maybe he realizes there is someone in the bullpen for him, and this is it. If they just continue on this path of mediocrity and inconsistency and lackluster play, he's done. So, maybe it's a little selfish on his part that he can't just go, blaming other teams being healthy at this point. Because that's not gonna get anywhere.
Yeah, but whatever works.
whatever keeps him behind the bench. So, well, look, is it correlation or causation? I don't know, but the results are what they are. Ripping off 3 wins against 3 playoff-bound teams. Now, look, you could try to knock the wins down slightly. Tampa Bay's best player got hurt, and it's their first game without him. Washington, they don't have anything really to play for in the standings. And then the Rangers, well, there's debate as to whether these teams actually wanted to win this game. Or I should say, no, I rephrase that. There's debate as to whether the fans wanted their own teams to win this game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you could try to pick apart the significance of the wins, but I don't think you should. I mean, the Islanders played well. They came back when they were down, against Washington in the third period there. They put up 5 on Tampa Bay at home. So, and Pulock was back in that one. That was nice to see. And I think Straight was injured, so they weren't really left with a choice. But Pulock scored in that game. I mean, why this guy needs to play every game. This is it.
Pulock will be. I think Pulock has entrenched himself in the lineup.
We've said it so many times, and finally looks like it's going to happen. Whether it's because of injury or because of other players injured, or because of his quality
now it's
performance.
Because of players, because Straight's now injured. So Straight went in and Washington got injured. So
right,
Pulock's gonna, it's gonna be a baptism by fire for him, especially in the playoffs, and it's gonna be a very different type of game. Obviously, minimal NHL experience for Pulock. However many games he's played now, but playoff hockey he's gonna learn very quickly. Is very different than playing in a regular season game. But I mean the team responded against Tampa Bay. I mean, you saw it in the beginning of that game. I mean, they really looked like they took on their coach's challenge, and they played inspired hockey. You saw 2 dust-ups in the first period in that game. You saw Poso mixed up. You saw Pulak defend Hickey, who had taken a hit and went after Cedric Paquette of the Lightning. You've documented, and Howie said this during the game, was the best effort you've seen from the team in quite a while, which is true. Matt Martin turned on the Jets and scored a really great goal. Nelson scored a goal. That's one of the players called out. He scored a really nice goal off a nice feed from Coleman in that game. And, the Islanders, really played from start to finish a complete game. I mean, there were some points where the Lightning pressed, and the Lightning are very skilled, so they're going to, make noise. But, a really impressive game. And then obviously you mentioned against Washington, coming back in the third, Gibson, their 4th-string goaltender, Christopher Gibson, as Thomas Greiss got the night off playing on Monday, and Greiss, we'll get to him, and he was much better on Monday, and then was phenomenal tonight. Phenomenal.
Berube was out.
Berube injured. Yep. So Gibson's called up, first NHL start, plays solid. I mean, wasn't spectacular, but I thought overall he was very solid. I mean, I really don't think you could put any of those goals on him. 2 goals by Ovechkin. One was a blister of a shot. Another, another one he was in all alone in front after a 3-on-1 where Scott Mayfield, who was in this game because of injury, looked like he was lost on that play, although I thought Mayfield played okay. What was interesting about the Washington game was that it really felt like deja vu for me watching in terms of the Game 7 last year. Very, very eerily similar. Scott Mayfield playing in that game because of injury. I forget how many defensemen they were down in that game, but Mayfield playing in that game just like he did tonight, the backup goalie in this game. I mean, it just really felt like deja vu, just like a very overmatched team. But that was probably the grittiest, guttiest win that they have had in a long, maybe their grittiest, guttiest win of the season.
I mean, Washington had so many chances to third period to put it away, and just sometimes you get lucky with where the puck goes. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. But I'm not saying that they were lucky in this game. I'm just saying that Washington had their chances.
Yeah, I mean, and the Islanders have had games this year where they won, and you're like, oh, that was terrible. I mean, they only won because the other team stunk, or because they were lucky. This game, they really put forth a hell of an effort from start to finish. Again, coming back in the third period, Oposo, taking a spill after he scores a tying goal. The goal to make it 3-2, and then the tying goal. Lee again, another deflection from Anders Lee, who went out in the game tonight, and will hopefully. I mean, he's okay because he's been playing really well, and he just is so effective when he's parking that big ass of his in front of the net. I mean, you just see how effective a player he can be, and how important it is to have a player that can do that. And and so another deflection goal for Anders Lee, and then held on, in the last few minutes to force the overtime, and then Thomas Hickey takes a skate to the face, and then comes back a minute later to take a beautiful pass from John Tavares, a gorgeous pass, in that 3-on-3 scramble session.
Yep.
And was able to lay it on a tee for Hickey, who had 3/4 of the net to shoot at. He does, puts it in top shelf. Game over. Islanders win. Playoff spot clinched.
Yeah, they clinch. It's just kind of ironic they clinch against the Capitals.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. I guess, the team that knocked them out last year. Well, and the Capitals were trying to get the win for their goalie, who was still trying to tie Martin Brodeur for a single season, or wins in a single season. So, hell of a game by them on Wednesday, as we got the view from a St. Louis Cardinals bar, as we still are on the lookout for an Islander bar.
That was Tuesday, and then they had the night off, and then they come back to New York City, back to Madison Square Garden, where they go for the first ever regular season sweep against the New York Rangers.
Yeah, how about that?
I mean, I couldn't believe that they've never done it. I mean, did they ever like in prior years with the scheduling? Like, would they play more often than 4 times in a season?
Yeah. I mean, the most. I mean, going back to when they were an expansion team in the early 70s, and go back to 70s. I mean, I want to say they probably played for a period of maybe into like the mid '90s, it was at least 7 times a year, 7 times a year.
Oh, okay.
And then they've adjusted the schedule. And actually, there was a period where I think there was a couple of years there last decade when they played 8 times because they wanted more games against your division rivals. And then the league said, "Oh wait, no. We actually want every team to play an even amount of games against each other in both conferences." So that ensured 2 games against the Western Conference, for the East, and vice versa for the West. And in your division now, you can only play. You're either going to play your opponent 4 or 5 times. Islanders and Rangers, if it's only going to be a max of 5 times, they should absolutely play 5 times every year. I mean, my God. I mean, 4 times. I mean, because I want to see Carolina 5 times, right? Or even the Devils, so I don't consider really a rival. 5 games against Pittsburgh, the Rangers, maybe Philadelphia. Those are the Washington. I mean, those are the teams I want to see 5 against. Columbus, Carolina, Devils, even, my God. But came away with the victory tonight. Like you said, first time that they've swept, so that's sweet. We'll get to what was going on Islander Mania in just a moment. But this game actually was the worst of the 3 that they won. I mean, Thomas Greiss was phenomenal in this game. He stood on his head. I mean, the Rangers made a huge push in the second period. There was a stretch there where it seemed like they had the puck in the Islanders zone for it seemed like for a year and a day, and they couldn't clear. Greiss made a few, tremendous saves, made a beautiful pad save on JT Miller, a centering feed right in front. Miller was point blank right in front of the net, and he was able to get the pad out. Phenomenal. I mean, just a phenomenal game by Thomas Greiss, and that was the best part of the best takeout of this game for the team was that, they're obviously he's going to be their number 1 going into the playoffs, and really, are going to be relying on him to give him good performances, and hopefully this is a sign that he's, regaining the form that he had for much of the season after a little hiccup there.
Right, and look, I mean, he was not responsible for that brutal loss against Pittsburgh, right? So
yeah, Berube was in that game. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't lost in a few games. I'm not saying he's been playing really well, but he's held his own, and maybe he's not really a true number 1 goalie, but he's been more than serviceable, and I think he's overall held his own since Halak went down. He hasn't been great, but he's been pretty good.
I mean, he's had his moments. I mean, he definitely didn't play as well. Just because he was getting more work and he was learning what it's like to be a number 1. You're going to play majority of the time, and but yeah, I mean, he was very good. I mean, well, he let up a really soft goal against Tampa on that game on Monday, but overall played well in that game. But tonight was really terrific, and you hope that he just continues to carry this. We'll see what Jack does with the goalies. On Saturday and Sunday. I mean, I'm sure that Greiss will only play one of those games.
Right.
And if Berube's okay, maybe he'll get the other, or Gibson, whatever. But Greiss will obviously be starting game 1 next week.
The Rangers outshot the Islanders 37-23.
Oh yeah, no, I mean that was indicative of the play as well. I mean the Rangers really carried the play for a good portion of the game. I mean the Islanders really just and the game lacked a lot of intensity. I mean for an Island, and you've seen games at the Garden lack intensity. It's not the same as when they play at the Coliseum in the past, or even the couple games at the Barclays Center this year. It's a shame because I thought this game was maybe going to be for like home ice. The teams are in a 2-3 spot. Maybe this game whoever wins gets home ice. And maybe expecting it to be like a real memorable classic game, and pretty nondescript, but the Islanders got the win. Whether that makes you happy or sad as an Islander fan is another story, and I guess we'll have to touch on that in just a moment. I mean, Prince played in this game, played much better, played well, set up that Casey Cizikas goal. Nielsen scored for the first time in 16 games, so that was nice. No Cizikas. I mean, no Clutterbuck in this game. No Matt Martin in this game.
Right.
Lee gets injured. DeHaan almost got hurt again. So with the injuries.
Right, and Hamonic's still out.
Hamonic's still out. And unknown, of course, with any of them. I mean, I'm sure Clutterbuck and Martin would have played in this game if it was a playoff game. I think both of them. We don't want to risk it. More precautionary. Let's keep them out. We clinched the spot. So I think it was more precautionary than anything. At least that's my hope, and that's what my gut is, though, as well.
Right. So I mean, now, like we said at the beginning of the show, uh, as it stands in the standings, the Islanders are positioned to play at Pittsburgh in round 1 of the playoffs. Now,
Yep.
this game against the Islanders, this game against the Rangers, had the Rangers won, the Rangers would be, they would have been 4 points ahead of the Islanders, right?
Right? Yeah. They were 2 ahead of the Islanders coming into the game tonight. Right. I mean, that actually would have. I think that would have meant that they would have solidified the number 3 spot, because the Islanders right now are lose a tiebreaker to the Rangers, as you mentioned earlier, for the the Rose, the less regulation overtime victories. So now this gives the Islanders the inside track to that number 3 spot again. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing remains to be seen. And one thing I'll also throw in there, and you asked me last podcast about the seeding, and right. And I didn't realize that you were asking about the first round. The first round, I mean, that's you have the 2 wild cards play the 2 division winners, of course, and the 2 threes in each division. But also, if the Islanders are the number 7 seed, that means that they'll obviously play Florida in the first round. But what it also means that if they get past Florida, that means they will play either the winner of the 2-3 matchup in the Atlantic. So if it happens to be Detroit-Tampa or Boston-Tampa, whoever ends up getting that spot, they'll play the winner of that series. So that's part of the line of thinking that, we don't want the 3 in the division. We don't want their players. We want the 7 spot in the conference. So we get put into that bracket and then have a preferable matchup against Tampa or Boston or Detroit, as opposed to whoever they would play in the second round, which would be either Washington or, I guess either Washington or I'm sorry, the number 3 spot. Whoever wins the Washington, then whoever they play in the first round. At this point, it would be either Philadelphia.
I mean, what you're getting at is trying to choose which teams you play in the playoffs at this point, and in order to get there, you have to basically lose a game or 2, or should have lost tonight. And I just look, I could understand as a fan that maybe you want the Islanders to lose, but I can't root for my players to want to lose. I can't, because you're basically we're this is the game against the Rangers, the third to last game of the season. We've been talking for months now how up and down this team has been, and how they have to get it together, and how they have to pick it up. And this is we say 12-game stretch, 8-game stretch, 5-game stretch. Now it's 2. They have to pick it up. They have to play better, and they have to get the right momentum going into the playoffs. To now, on top of that, ask them to maybe not win a game so that they get a better matchup, which we don't even know is even fully within their control, just to me is so irreconcilable that you can't ask your team to have the mindset to get in the have the momentum of having the confidence to take on any team in the playoffs, while at the same time trying to get a more favorable matchup.
I agree.
Screw that. You have to go into the playoffs with the confidence you can beat any team.
Absolutely.
Look, you just beat Washington. Look, and you know why I think this is happening with some fans potentially, is because Pittsburgh just destroyed the Islanders. So they're worried. That is a recency bias that is, I think, creating the fear that you have to play against this team in the playoffs. It was 1 game, and look, did they not show up? No, but it's behind us. They've ripped off 3 wins, and I think they could take them on. I understand Pittsburgh is playing really well, but they can. And they're not going to have home ice. Unfortunately, they can't mathematically. You want these players to have the mindset to get amped up for the playoffs, and ask them to hold back.
I agree. I absolutely agree, and that's why you play. What did Herm Edwards say in 2002? You play to win the game. What did Tom Coughlin do in 2007 when everybody was yelling at him to bench his players to keep him healthy for the playoffs in a game against the Patriots that meant nothing for them since they were already entrenched in their position that year? They went out, they played their hearts out. They lost, they lost that game, but they ended up going on to beat that team in the Super Bowl. So, maybe not the best examples. I just, popped into my head. But, yes, and one of the things that we've been talking about is we want them to peak at the right time, and you want to go into the playoffs with momentum, whether or not you believe that it's going to carry over or it's only carries over, depending on who your opponent is.
But you want to have you want to have momentum.
Absolutely, no question.
Whether it carries or not, you
want the team to be playing well and confident in their ability to beat anybody going to the playoffs. And you know what? Their goal should not just be to win a playoff series. The debate on Islander Mania tonight, and it was surreal going through Islander Mania, seeing people like, the Islanders scored a goal. Oh man, what do we do? Like, what the hell? This sucks. I can't. We're gonna beat them. This sucks. I want Florida. I don't want Pittsburgh. And other people like, oh, shut up. Screw that. We want it. I'll take on the Penguins. Bring them on. You want to have that mentality. It was like surreal, like going through the Islander Mania message board in the game thread tonight, and. And just you want the team, like you said, you want the team to be confident that they can go into the playoffs with an opportunity, not just to win a round, even though we want to see this as fans because it's been 23 years, but we want to see them. You want the team to believe that they can go into the playoffs and make a run at a Stanley Cup because that's the goal. If that's not the goal, then pack it up and go home. Just forfeit the spot. If the goal is to win a championship, to win the cup, and if that means going through Pittsburgh first, and then you let the chips fall where they may. You play to win, and you just whoever your opponent is, that's who it is, and you go in expecting to win. And I think the Islanders, they like I said, Pittsburgh has been one of their rivals now for a couple of years. They played them as well as they could in 2013. Both teams are different now. They're not the same teams, but. A lot of the core guys are still here for the Islanders and the Penguins too.
Is there any chance if the Islanders play the Penguins in round one? It's looking like that's the most likely scenario. Will Barclays Center come close to being as loud as the Nassau Coliseum was?
I tell you,
in Game 6.
I was at all three of those games, and I was, at one of the games last year against Washington. But that place was just, it was, and that's why I was so disappointed that they couldn't make a run in that building because we probably would have literally blown the roof off that place if they would have made it past the first round. But that place was just absolutely insane. It was just one of the great atmospheres I've ever experienced in anything in my entire life. And you experienced games at the Big House in Michigan, and you were at Game 4 that year. So, I don't know if you want to do a little comparison of a big Michigan game as compared to, the Islanders Game 4 first round, but against Pittsburgh in 2000.
If I gauge it based on your reaction alone, we all know the lip. You have to, listeners who haven't had the pleasure of watching an Islanders hockey game with the lip. Will I would say perhaps be a little surprised with the overall reaction.
with the demeanor,
right, outward reaction. Inner could be different, but so look, we'll do a playoff series preview next show. We don't, because we don't know definitively what it's going to be. The Islanders have clinched, but the Rangers, could still overtake the Islanders in the third spot there. The Islanders have 2 games to go. The Rangers just have 1.
Right. The one thing I'm also going to throw in there is that the Islanders now cannot be the 8th seed. So with their win tonight, they are now either the 7th spot or the 3 spots. Now
right. They just needed, I think, 1 point.
Yeah, 1 point tonight. Yep. And the Flyers lost in overtime anyway. And
right.
Well, and then that's
either one of Detroit or Boston will get the 3rd spot in the Atlantic, right. and then either one of those teams or the Flyers will get the second wild card. And look, the Flyers could be playing relevant hockey against the Islanders.
Yeah, and the
on
Islanders
Sunday.
may have absolutely. Well, I mean, they really have much to play for anyway. But I mean, they may be solidified in their position come Sunday, and may have literally nothing to play for. Interesting to see what they do in that game.
Well,
especially
let me ask you though. Now that the Islanders beat the Rangers, and look, the Islanders are now they're hosting Buffalo on Saturday. Is this a game where they don't come out playing really hard because, the win against the Rangers is sunk in? They're looking at the standings now. I think things were a lot more unclear going into tonight as far as the standings and how things would shake out. But I don't want it to happen. I'm just thinking, like, are the players in the back of their minds going to be a little more restrained? Because what's the worst case is they end up 7th and they play Florida.
Yeah, well, I mean, remember, the Rangers play Saturday afternoon, so the Islanders play Saturday night. They're already going to know what the Rangers, what the outcome is of the Ranger game. And, if the Rangers win, then they know that they have to, win both of their games in order to, get that 3 spot. If the Rangers lose, and they only have to win one of them to get that 3 spot. So, if they were looking to get that 3 spot. So it'll be interesting to see what their mentality is the last 2 games of the season. I mean, look, right now they're just concerned about resting the guys that are injured. However he's going to finagle around with the lineup, Capuano, we'll see. Clutterbuck, Martin, Lee, Hamonic we won't see until the playoffs, but those guys, Straight, who knows? I mean, they may need him at some point down the line. It's just you have so many guys right now that are banged up, and the most important thing. And actually, I just read that they just announced that Hamonic apparently skated today. So he didn't have gear on or anything, but he did a light skate to test out his knee. So that's good news. Yeah. And is the tough warrior that Travis Hamonic is. That he'll be back some point in the first round, even if it's not game 1. He'll be back. But we'll see exactly their approach on Saturday and Sunday. Especially, it'd be pretty funny if either Boston or Detroit needs the Islanders to win against the Flyers on Sunday, and here the Islanders are with a completely meaningless game. Oh, sorry, we can't help you.
Does this hurt their momentum though if they kind of pull back just a little bit after, depending on what the Rangers do? I mean, look, I was just adamantly saying how they shouldn't have against the Rangers, and now here I am perhaps
questioning, right? Well, yeah.
I mean, I sound like I'm contradicting myself here, but I think the circumstances are different. Going into this game against the Rangers, you still needed a point to avoid Washington, and I think you're playing this rival team. I think you really wanted to get more confidence from beating the Rangers. I don't really see it happening against Buffalo, but maybe they need to just keep pushing ahead. And look, if there's guys that are still banged up and they're going to sit, fine. I get that.
Yeah, and I do agree. I mean, you want to see them play hard. Whoever is in the lineup, you want to see them playing hard, and especially if by game 1 next week, if they have let's say Clutterbuck and Martin are all ready to go. Josh, one of the players he called out, Josh Bailey, he has not picked up his game at all. Strome is now playing center, and Butchie made a point in the game this evening on the broadcast, which I agree with. Strome definitely seems like he's more comfortable at center. He is a natural center. He's been playing on the wing because they've had other guys in that spot. But I think John Tavares now has his 2 line mates. I don't think Jack is touching Nielsen and Oposo on his wing. He's looked much better with those 2 guys on his wing than he did with Bailey and Strome. So I think that's going to stay the same. Obviously, again, we'll see what happens when Clutterbuck and Martin come back in the lineup. Does Bailey ever take a seat? Probably not, but he has not picked up his game. I think Nelson overall has played better. I think Strome's been a little bit better, but Bailey just continues to be Bailey. And, Bailey is the type of guy, he's been in the league long enough now. He is what he is at this point. You know what you're getting out of him. It's not really anything good. I mean, that's the point. We've been yelling about this for a while now. And, I would basically emphasize to Bailey, hey, Josh, these last 2 games you're going to play, and you're playing for a spot in the lineup. It's that simple. If look, 2 games you shouldn't base your decision on 2 games, but if I'm the coach right now, I'm looking at a few players that may be like on the, on that picket fence there, and in terms of their tenuous grasps on their spots in the lineup, and whether or not I'm going to make a change if I'm the coach, and that's what I'm looking at the last couple of games. But yeah, you want your team to play hard. You want them to play hard still, and again, you want them to carry some kind of momentum into the playoffs, whether it's next Wednesday, Thursday, whenever they start, whoever the opponent is. I do agree. You want to rest guys.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
Whoever it is, let's go.
Yep.
It's amazing how 4 days make a difference. Where I'm talking about, I'm not excited watching them play against Tampa Bay and the upcoming games against Tampa Bay, Washington, and the New York Rangers. I'm more worried of watching a collapse. Well, 6 points later and 4 days later, let's go. Talk about a momentum shift. We just saw it. So,
like I said, the tone very different.
Right. So our next show,
more upbeat.
Next show, we can say we will be doing a
playoff
round
preview.
1 playoff series preview. That's pretty exciting.
And that's what we were hoping for, right? I mean, this is when we started this in January. This is what we were hoping for. I mean, we thought they would probably make the playoffs, but after Sunday, and there were a few other points here too. You were just like, this team is just playing terribly, and I mean, they're still flawed. They're not the best team in the conference by any stretch. Would a run to the Cup Finals be very much unexpected? Yes, at least just in terms of comparing them to the other teams in the conference. But it's not out of the realm of possibility. And if they play their best, if they all collectively as a group, play to their, maximize it, and play to their ability. Yeah, whatever. I was trying to think of a way to phrase that. Play their best hockey. Yeah, well, yeah, maximum. But if the team plays collectively as a group their best hockey, they can, I think, skate with any team in the conference. That goes for Washington, Pittsburgh, Rangers, whoever. And
we'll see. We'll see whoever it is. We'll let the weekend ride out, and we'll see you. I guess Sunday or Monday next week, and we have a playoff series to preview. So, all right. Yes.
All right. And the Hip and the Lip will be attending at the Barclays Center.
That's right.
The games. So
we'll see when they are, and we'll have to choose where we're going to go before the game. We've been trying to, and we'll talk about that too. But
there are no Islander bars anywhere. There's
Islander bars around Barclays where people go before the games, but what we've been struggling to find are where a bar that you can go to watch the Islander game, like in Manhattan, with the Islander sound on. Because now with baseball here, and basketball, nobody really cares, but in New York because the teams suck. But with baseball back, there's just so many different options for a bar to choose for which game to put the sound on it, especially if the Rangers are playing the same night. I mean, I think the Rangers are gonna take precedence over the Islanders because there's just more Ranger fans.
What about the St. Louis Cardinals? Will they take precedence over both teams?
If you go to Foley's, New York City, across from the Empire State Building, as we found, then the St. Louis Cardinals get sound. The
big screen and sound.
Big screen and sound.
And there was one Cardinals fan, I think, in the entire bar that evening. Yay!
So our search continues for an Islander.
Run for Biscotti! Yay!
You can tweet at Hip and the Lip if you have any suggestions. I know there's hockey bars, but we want like a dedicated Islander bar, and maybe we have to take it upon ourselves to make it happen. Look, I realize it's towards the end of the year, so maybe it's more realistic for next year. But we'll if anyone out there is aware, let us know, and we'll show up.
All right.
Yes. Enjoy the weekend games.
Yes.
Hip and the lip. La la la. We made the playoffs. So at least we keep going for another couple episodes, and then we'll see.
At least with hockey talk, and then otherwise we're talking about Adam Conley and George Springer, and
and then our listenership. Well, it can't really plummet, so I guess it'll just
actually it may rise if they hear something about fantasy baseball. Ooh, I want to listen to this.
I'm sure. All right. Well, over next. Say goodbye.
Right.
Say goodbye. All right. Bye. All right. Bye. Goodbye. Hip and the Lip. Bye. Bye.